On January 26, 1950, a C-54 Skymaster would take off from Anchorage, Alaska and was scheduled to land in Great Falls, Montana. The Northwest staging route height was known as. The flight was scheduled to take approximately 8 hours. The plane was to take a route over the Yukon which required check-ins every 30 minutes due to the remote and rugged terrain. Radar was around, however it was not around in these remote areas at this point. The last check-in from the flight was 2 hours into the trip near Snag, Canada. The C-54 had 36 passengers, mainly military, but there was an expectant mother flying back to the lower 48 to have her child, and 8 crew members aboard. The day of the flight, one of the 4 engines on the aircraft was having mechanical issues which weren't specified anywhere. This caused the flight to be delayed several hours. The flight finally got underway and made check-ins normally for the first 2 hours before going silent. During one of the check-ins, the pilot reported turbulence and ice developing on the wings. This was the last the aircraft was ever heard from. The next point it should have checked in at was Ishihik in the Yukon. While this is a relatively short write-up, that's really all we know about what occurred during that day. The rest is unconfirmed or theories to explain the disappearance. Operation Mike was launched to try and locate the aircraft, however search and rescue tactics were in their infancy, which lead to a lot of people probably not maximizing search potential. It was a joint Canadian and U.S. effort. In addition, shortly after the alarm bells were raised, there was heavy snow in the Yukon which could have potentially buried any evidence of a crash. The rescue operation was also suspended on February 14, 2.5 weeks later, after all resources were sent to the Gulf of Alaska to search for a missing B-36 bomber carrying a nuclear warhead, without its radioactive core but keep in mind the Cold War and proximity to the Soviet Union. By February 20, all efforts were suspended and the families were simply given a death certificate with no further explanation or effort to find what occurred. So let's introduce and reiterate some of what we know about the flight. The C-54 was not pressurized and had to fly at or below 10,000 feet. It was reported at 10,000 feet during its last check-in. This is important due to how mountainous the Yukon is. Last check-in it was reported there was icing on the wings, turbulence, but otherwise uneventful. These are common issues at daytime and no cause for alarm. The last radio operator to speak to the flight stated many flights attempt to fly through the St. Elias Mountains took a time off their flight. This should be noted as many of those mountains are well over 10,000 feet tall. A trapper near Beaver Lake, south of the last check-in, saw a large aircraft that he stated appeared in trouble over his cabin. There's not much I can find on why he thought it was